MLS Aces episode 179. This is your host, Tom Sweezy. I am joined by one man and one man only tonight, and maybe not even having the full attention because I think you just started Ted Lasso. Jason, how are you?
I mean, this is my third time watching it. So, yeah.
Never. You're into it.
No, yeah, I love that show, but my roommate has never seen it, so I was showing him, and we watched, we're on episode 8, and I think we started last night. But yeah, I'm doing well. I mean, we're getting really close on the season here.
So first of all, I've never seen Ted Lasso, so I need you to sell me on Ted Lasso and give me like a 30-second elevator pitch on Ted Lasso.
I don't even need 30. Just watch the fucking show. It's like one of the best shows of all time. Like it's straight like one of the best shows you'll ever watch.
The main reason why I want to watch the show is because I keep on seeing a bunch of people get these boxes on Twitter, and they keep on posting them on Twitter.
I guess it's like so cool. I want.
It's like the sign that Jason Sudeikis smacks, and then it's like a jersey and all of that. I want a box, so I just want to watch the show to get a box. It's I feel like everyone who watches it's like I got this in the mail.
I didn't get a box.
So you got to start tagging the show on Twitter, man.
True. Hello, AFC Richmond. Please send me a box.
See, they're the Greyhounds.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I'm learning. All right. This is not going to be an entire show about Ted Lasso, even though you guys I couldn't. You could. That's fine. You guys probably would enjoy that. But this is episode 179, like I did mention before, brought to you guys by Added Time Outfitters. If you guys know Added Time Outfitters, they create some awesome soccer-inspired wristbands. Head over to addedtimeoutfitters.com. Use promo code MLSAces. Get 20% off your order. Get a nice discount. Get yourself a gift, man. That's it. That's all you got to do is just go website, use promo code MLSAces, get yourself a gift. Help us out, help them out, help yourself out. It's a nice big circle. Jason, you are here. Sam and Vaughn, they are not with us tonight. Both not feeling too well. I think, yes, definitely missed them. I think, both dealing with some things. I want to say congrats to Sam. I know Sam is moving on to another brewery in his local area. So congratulations on the career move to you, Sir Uncle Daddy Sam Nelson. You guys want to follow us? Everyone who listens to this, tag Sam in a tweet and say, send me beer. And if you do, then you'll be entered to win beer potentially. I don't really know how you can send beer.
Did you just like force Sam into sending beer to random people?
Sam, I know you just got this new job, man, and you probably would get in trouble for sending beer out, but just do it. It's fine.
Yeah, just come on, send beer.
If you guys want to know where to follow Sam, where to follow us, you can go to MLSAces.com, check out our bios, check out some blogs. We have a fun March Madness thing going on. It's wrapping up. I think we have 2 rounds left. We're on to the Final Four, and voting for the Final Four should be up today if you're watching live. If you're not watching live.
We're not biased at all. We don't want one person to win.
No, totally.
We're very unbiased people in this. There's definitely not a clear number one option, though.
No, Jason has not been pushing any type of small and furry animal hard within this entire
some
bracket.
of the most cutest animal in the entire world.
Some might call them vermin. I mean,
some
I don't know.
would be wrong. They're beautiful creatures that sometimes pick on some garbage. They're just trying to clean up the world.
If you guys want to see more about that, go to MLSAces.com. Check out the March Madness blog going on. You can also, see some of the banter on Twitter at MLSAces, at Jason Vive, Instagram, MLS_Aces. All of that. Last little bit of kind of just clean up before we get to the actual soccer talk, right? If you guys want to support us, support the show, support Jason's Ted Lasso addiction, then you can head over to patreon.com/MLSAces, and you can become an ace hole. You guys can get into our Slack chat and a bunch of other awesome kind of perks that come along with it. So definitely head over to patreon.com and do that for us, and do that for yourself, and do it for everyone within the soccer community. Now, the soccer community this week definitely had its ups and its downs, had its positives and its negatives, and some some people may say we focus on the negatives too much. Some people say we may focus on the negatives not at all. I mean, really, it's just been a span of angry tweets that I feel like has been thrown around soccer Twitter. So let's start with the positive.
It's been a week. Let's just say that.
I think the COVID madness and COVID kind of quarantining, everyone staying indoors is really hitting some people. Maybe some current and former U.S. men's national team stars. But yeah, it's fine. I say we start positive. I say we start positive. One of these current U.S. men's national team stars told us that we need to be more positive. So I think we should start with that, right? U.S. men's national team. They did play a friendly this week up against Northern Ireland. We did win 2-1. We got a Gio Reyna opening goal in the 30th minute. Christian Pulisic drew and put away a penalty kick in the 59th. Yeah, Northern Ireland got one back. It wasn't the best type of clearance from Tim Ream, Matt Miazga. Maybe you want to blame Chris Richards a little bit. I blame Ream and Miazga a little bit more.
We're focusing on the positive.
There is one thing about this game. I know we don't want to touch too heavy on it. It was cool. Nice little build up off of the Jamaica win as well. But I know there was something you wanted to mention in this game.
Yeah, but I will first say that Soccer Noob USA said put away is almost too strong way to put that PK. But hey, it went in the back of the net, so I'm gonna say it's pretty solid.
You know what? I want to. He did it. Okay. I came on this show.
Yes.
I came on this show and I said that Christian Pulisic has never scored for the U.S. men's national team outside of a bunch of just CONCACAF easy freebies. And he did it. And I don't know if Northern Ireland's that much of an upgrade, but they're better than the Cayman Islands, and Canada definitely can make sure that that's true.
Across the line? Yeah. Was it definitely savable? Yeah, but it hit the net. So
it counts. It all counts.
But yeah, the biggest takeaway for me from this game was a new formation, which we saw in the 3-4-3. We had three center backs, and then you had Anthony Robinson and Serginho Dest kind of as your wing backs. Mm-hmm. And I found that to just be really if we're going to talk about positives, that to me is the biggest thing, because for a long time I felt like there's very little flexibility with the national team, and that can kind of run us into a wall at times. You run up into an opponent that maybe your one formation is just they know what you're going to bring, and this at least gives us a second option. I also think that Dest and Anthony Robinson are great going forward. Obviously, Dest is phenomenal going forward. That everybody knows that, right? So these are roles that can suit those guys a little bit better, to be able to push forward a little bit more and have that basis of three center backs behind them, where there's less pressure and more creativity going forward in the attack, which just, in my opinion, opens up a lot. And you could say, oh, you only won 2-1, but this was the first time we've seen that, right? So this is definitely a stepping stone, where I really, really hope that this wasn't a one-time thing and it wasn't, hey, let's just try it out, which I don't think it would be, but I really hope we see this more, because I think it can turn into a second identity, where in games where we're struggling, it's hey, we'll just flip to this, or in a game where we're planning for a bigger game, and Greg wants to flip things up, he can, and still be confident that we'll succeed in the game. And there's a lot of depth at center back, so I think having three is great, especially with the fact that not all of our wingbacks are the best defenders, to put it lightly. So
I liked it, right? I like the ability to be versatile with the U.S. men's national team, because that's not something that, like you said, we always see. I think this is either the first or second time we've seen Greg Berhalter try to run anywhere of a 3-4-3 or anything with a three-man back, right? I liked it because there's constantly the point out there that when you're playing CONCACAF competition, whether it's in Gold Cup, whether it's in Nations League, whether you're in World Cup qualifying, whatever it may be, you're playing a bunch of different teams that throw a lot at you in different types of environments. You have to be versatile in those environments, and that means the players you throw out there, that means the way you're playing has to be versatile as well. And especially with the amount of games that we're going to be playing this summer, it's going to be a different group every single competition, different starting 11s, different guys working together who may not have always started together. And the ability for us to come out in a 4-4-2, abilities for us to come out in a 4-3-3, a 3-4-3, a 3-5-2, whatever it may be, is what we have to do to succeed, to come out of games against Costa Rica, Mexico, Jamaica, Canada, and the whole lot. I liked it. Guys were good. It was cool seeing Daryl Dike. Dike had 2 clear-cut chances. I really wished he finished off. But I'll cut him a little slack, as Soccer Noob USA is saying that Northern Ireland's in the low 40s in FIFA ranking. So again, better than some CONCACAF competition. But look, at the end of the day, I like the game.
A win's a win.
2 wins in a week too, coming off the Jamaica win as well. So you can't complain too much. Triple G is continuing to hold up his end of the bargain, kind of with where the senior team is at.
They're Honduras, but Taylor.
Let's move from the senior team. Let's remember, Jason, positivity is what we need to keep in mind. Positivity, all right here.
Send it.
the US U23s failed to qualify for the Olympics for the 3rd straight qualification cycle after a 2-1 loss to Honduras's U23s. Obviously, USA, I think since the last time we spoke on this podcast, they ended up finishing 2nd in the group with 2 wins against the DR and Costa Rica and a loss to Mexico. That was a respectable loss.
We felt pretty good. No, but we felt pretty good.
We were feeling good, and I think I came on here, and maybe I am part of the cocky mindset. I can't think of the word. Cocky is not the right word, but it's been thrown around.
Not arrogant.
Arrogant was the word.
Confident. That's been thrown around. Overly confident, maybe. I don't know.
I think arrogant is pretty.
Arrogant is a word, but it's kind of a mean word, so I didn't want to call you arrogant.
I think the last episode I was being a little arrogant in saying, if we can perform well against Mexico and we can come out against either Canada or Honduras, who are a worse team than Mexico and us at the U23 level, get a result and go to the Olympics. And I think it was almost the second thought to you, me, and Vaughn on last week. Almost. I don't want to speak for you, but I think it was almost like, yeah, we got this. Like, we looked good. Mexico, if we can play well, we got this. We did play well against Mexico, and at the end of the day, we did not get this. Another goal, we did not got this. Another goal allowed just before the half at halftime in this game. Then just after the half, a goal allowed. Jackson Ewell did his best to kind of come out in the 52nd minute and score. I don't really want to kind of break down the X's and O's. Anyone who watched the game, anyone who watched the highlights know the key mistakes. David Ochoa, I'm still a huge fan. Keep the head up, kid. Like, you have a huge career ahead of you. One bad game isn't going to define that. And I guess kind of that's where I want to go, is like the players in specific. I don't want to call out individual guys, right? I think everyone from a David Ochoa, who we saw, from a Jesus Ferrara to a Sebastian Saucedo, whoever you want to talk about, at the end of the day, they know what they didn't achieve at the end of this competition, at the end of this tournament. I guess when you're looking at this failure to make the Olympics, who do you blame? There's a bunch of parties here going on, right? There's USSF, there's Jason Christ, the players, Triple G, there's everyone, right? When you're looking at this, who do you blame most for us, again, failing to make the Olympics?
I think it starts with now his name escapes me. The technical director that we just had. What's his name?
Well, you got Ernie Adams as the GM, not Ernie Adams, Ernie Stewart as the GM.
Ernie Stewart, I think, is the one who I would.
Yeah, Ernie Adams is the guy for the Patriots, I think.
It's okay. It's been a rough week. To me, I think it's Ernie Stewart is probably who I would blame the most, and I'd probably put Jason Christ either at that level or just a tad below. I think they're the two that, I mean, USSF is obviously at fault. But I think that's so broad. I think you can go to Ernie Stewart, Jason Kreis. When the team came out, I was talking to you a little bit before we went live. I just felt like we even us, like looking at it, we're like, oh, there's some people missing, but it's like a solid roster, right? But, there are a lot of defensive mids in this roster where like we maybe could have had some more creative players. I don't need to name a ton of names. There's
Where's
a couple
the center back depth,
Yeah, there was. I mean, we've talked about it. We've talked about our thoughts on that. But I just think there were holes, and we kind of put it back once we started to play and win some games. And like you said, we got overly confident, arrogant, however you want to put it. But it's just like Ernie Stewart was literally brought in to be this guy who's really making sure this shit doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And it happened again. I mean, at a smaller scale, like whatever you want to say about World Cup qualifying versus Olympic qualifying, like obviously there's different scales, but it happened. Like you missed out on a major tournament in a major moment where there's a lot of, important games that could be played during that tournament. There's a lot of really good experience to be had as a national team where you don't always get to play with these guys. There's a reason that look at France. Okay. Like their national team, all those guys are just best friends and they play together. A lot of them do. And they're really successful. Like Griezmann is really good with France, not as much with Barcelona. And I don't know, maybe there's a reason for that, but when it comes to, I don't know where I just went with this thought, but I'm just going to keep going.
It's going somewhere. I like it though.
But like these games, I just like playing games is the most important thing. And missing out on major tournaments, playing meaningful games is really important. And whether you're at the senior level, U23, U20, U12, like it matters. It just does. And people are upset and they deserve to be upset because it's upsetting.
I want to jump off that. So first of all, before there's a point I want to get to. First of all, I'm with you. I blame Ernie Stewart. I blame Brian McBride, kind of first and foremost, because their jobs were. Ernie Stewart legit had a position created within U.S. Soccer to be the general manager of the men's side of things. I'm pretty sure just the men's side of things. I could be wrong. It might be.
No, I think you're right. I think it is just the men's.
But focusing on the men's side of things here with the U23s, he failed at doing his job because I think Jason Kreis was hired as we have enough talent. Jason Kreis, fine. We'll hire him. He can do fine and we'll be fine with this team. I don't think there was enough time and energy and care put into thinking about the U23 level, especially with a Olympic qualifying summer going on. And at the end of the day, Jason Kreis, sure, the guy won an MLS Cup with RSL back in MLS 1.5 or whatever the fuck you want to call it at that point.
And then we're shit.
I've seen Jason Kreis single-handedly fail with an expansion team at NYCFC. You saw him fail when he was the head coach at Orlando. You saw him fail everywhere he's gone since he's had his success with RSL. Now, I know a lot of former players will talk a lot of positive things about Jason Kreis, and that's fantastic, but we haven't seen much positivity from the guy in a long, long time. So I blame Ernie Stewart. I blame Brian McBride. I blame Jason Kreis. I think a little bit of blame also has to go to Greg Berhalter, right? Because 100%. Kreis is Berhalter's, like one of Berhalter's right-hand guys. Berhalter's working with Kreis, focusing on how we want to play, all of that. So not that Greg Berhalter has decisions. I mean, I'm sure he has input on roster decisions.
He's not making like those really fine decisions and stuff, but he deserves blame because he's part of this organization. He has a say as the senior team head manager. Like you dictate. If he said, "Hey, bring this guy in," they would bring him in. You
dictate all the way down. Exactly.
Yeah. So if he said, "I want Jeremy Obobisi," he'd be there.
Exactly.
Things like that, it does fall on him a little bit.
And I know Christ came out and commented that, from an outside point of view, you see, and I think this was strictly focused on Abobasi and Williamson, where it's like you see guys on paper or for their club team play really well, but they come into a certain camp maybe out of shape, or they come into certain camps and they don't fit what the system is trying to do and they don't perform the same way. Sure, that's fair. That's fine. But you can't tell me that a guy like Williamson or a guy like Abobasi wouldn't be useful in that game against Mexico, in that game against Honduras.
I'm a fan of, like, obviously in this situation, like, our Pulisic, McKennie, like, they're not going to be there, right? Those guys not going to be the best, like, but I think Abobasi, Williamson, even Cole Bassett, like, those are guys that could have really helped and are people who should have been there. Like, I think they're pretty high up in terms of skill level for their age, and this U23 team, they should have been there, and exactly. they could have been used. And why are we not bringing them? Sure, you could say, oh, maybe the style didn't fit, but I'm a big fan of having people who have proven themselves many times, always.
And I just think that the way the roster is still structured doesn't really make sense to his comments of fit as well, because you have a lot of guys doing a lot of similar things, and then you have a lot of lack of depth for a tournament at certain positions as well. So
he tried to say, like, oh, we brought like specifically the midfield was versatile, or I don't know what exact words he said, but
he's guys who can do a lot of different things. Yeah.
But I was like, we all looked at this roster and we're like, there's a lot of number sixes.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like, a lot of sixes.
Without really that much thought. I looked at the roster, I was like, like, really? This is it.
How many times did we see a midfield of Johnny, Andres Pereira, and Mihailovic? That's 2 sixes and a 10 potential left winger, and you're playing Johnny playing in front of Pereira. Okay, Johnny, first of all, did not have a great tournament, and Pereira had a decent tournament. Mihailovic was the most creative player we had on the field, and nothing seemed to mesh. Nothing seemed to work, and I think some of the substitute decisions were also interesting. But I think we can both agree. Sorry, go for it. What do you want to say?
If you look at, like, I just wanted to go off your sub thing, because if you look at, like, the timelines in each of these games, it's just, to me, I was like, there really isn't a lot of structure. It just felt random.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just me looking at these and being like trying to pull something from it, but to me it was just like it doesn't feel like, if he had this system and that's why he brought in specific players, then why does it sort of feel like random, these substitutions, the timing of them, who's being subbed for who? It's just weird. It was weird to me.
Yeah, and I think a perfect example of that is in Honduras when we're down, we need some offensive kind of enforcement coming off the bench, and he looked at the bench and who do we have? We're rocking with 3 wingers and 2 strikers, and none of them really were that productive at the end of the day, from Ferrara to Soto to Salcedo to Lewis to Benji Michel. None of them really did much. All of our goals, most of them came from fucking Jackson Ewell. Like, Jackson Ewell had a fantastic tournament. Sam Vines had a fantastic tournament. Justin Glad, fantastic tournament.
Sam Vines. Love Sam Vines. We're on that train. It's taken off.
But those 5 forwards that I just named, what did they do? Jesus Ferrara had the goal against the Costa Rica. Cool. Thanks. He had a shitty DR game, and he came on late against Mexico, didn't do anything. It's like, I understand.
But I think part of this is just coaching, which goes back to what you're saying before. It's like, are we really looking at these coaches in the right way? Like, hiring process? Like, Greg wasn't
perfect. Is he the perfect fit for a U23 level coaching fit? Tab Ramos
perfect for U12. Sorry.
Maybe the U12 level. I don't know. But Tab Ramos was a dude who we saw work with youngsters at the U.S. level and have success, right? Being able to adapt, being able to work to players' strengths. I think Tab Ramos is a perfect guy. I'm happy he's with Houston. I'm happy he's getting his senior team shot. But we need a guy like Tab Ramos to be able to work with these guys, make smarter decisions tactically as well, I think. But I want to transition to the player side of things, and I think the players deserve the least amount of blame. They still deserve blame, and I think they'll be the first people to tell you that.
I think they're also the most likely to put blame on themselves, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like players, when they fail, not everyone, but to me, it seems like they're like more broken up about it, or like annoyed, or I don't know what the right word is, but I think the players, while they do deserve blame, like you're saying, I do think it also is the least, but they're more likely to at least be like resentful towards what happened and admit fault. Like, oh man, like maybe I could have done this better. And hopefully they do that, because that's how you learn, right?
Exactly. I was speaking with 3 players who all around the same age group. One that was in this camp, one that was in this roster. So one that was in this roster, one that was called into this roster, but due to club restraints and just timing of everything, couldn't make it to the tournament. And then one guy who around the age range has played with a lot of these guys. All 3 of them said that they were heartbroken. Well, the 2 who weren't there said they were heartbroken for the dudes in that locker room, because they know how much they care. They know how much effort and work they put in. And at the end of the day, they wished that they were there to give this squad just that little bit more energy and a little bit more boost to get the end result, right? And then the one that was there, first thing out of his mouth was an apology. And it was like, don't be sorry. Like, I'm sorry to you. Like, I'm sorry, like, like you had to go through that type of deal. But at the end of the day, I think you're right. These players are kind of blaming themselves. Even the guys who weren't there are blaming themselves. And I'm sure there's a little bit, or a part of them that's like, I wish that we did qualify for the Olympics, because the dudes who would be playing in the Olympics probably different than some of these dudes playing in the Olympic qualifying roster as well. So a lot to that there. I would just mainly kind of want to talk about that to let the players know, if any player ever happens to catch this, that like, yes, we know you're all friends of the pod, that you're gonna blame yourself. We get that, and I respect that to a whole other level. And yeah, you deserve some blame. You didn't get the job done, but there's a bigger picture going on, and with not making any excuses that I've been seeing all over the internet of our best U23 guys at the senior level, and this was a D team, and all this shit. I'm not going with excuses. There's people to blame, players to blame, coaches to blame, technical staff within U.S. Soccer to blame, and that's it. We failed. Woohoo. It's always fun to come on here. I feel like the last time I had this conversation was when we failed to qualify for the World Cup.
The one thing about like the big excuses debate that I feel like I'm on potentially the wrong side of, so I want you to hear me out. Mm-hmm. I feel like we have failed. This is true. Like we failed. There's a lot to blame. This shitty management. It goes like we just talked about this whole conversation. That's true. But on the same side of it, like it's also true that there could be better players in this team. Yes, and I don't feel like true. I don't feel like saying that is necessarily an excuse, unless I don't really know how to put it, but like it's not just black and white. It's not like, oh, this is true and this is false. It's like both can be true, and both are true in my opinion.
I agree with that. Look, I think there's
a bigger debate about it, like on Twitter, which I'm like, but it's true. Like both are true. Like we fucked up, but we also had other players.
If we had our best U23 players playing in Olympic qualifying, we would have the best team within that tournament. And again, it's a hypothetical world. Does our best team fail once again, right? Does our best team still not make the Olympics? That's a possibility. At the end of the day, that is a realistic possibility.
There's also like the point that like it's really uncommon for people like Weston McKennie and Pulisic. Like those in DAS, like it's not surprising to not see them in these teams.
Yes,
which
exactly.
is like they played the same day with the senior team, which is probably better. This is what we want them to be doing.
So yes, I want to go into that. Yes, we had our D squad out there. Should our D squad have still qualified for the Olympics? Probably. I think we have enough talent and enough guys playing first team minutes within a good league to still qualify for the Olympics. That's done, dusted. Does not making the Olympics actually matter if our most talented players are playing at the senior team level, bonding, gelling, like you said with France, becoming best friends because we see those relationships and we see those connections made. I am seeing people say that not making the Olympics doesn't matter. No one cares about the Olympics. Doing well in the Olympics does not translate to doing well to a senior team level. I get all of that, but I still think there's a larger picture. And you tell me if you think I'm wrong here. Some of these guys may never get a chance to ever play for the U.S. men's national team. Some of these guys, this is probably the last time we're going to see them in a red, white, and blue jersey. And you can think of those players. I'm not going to say it. You can think of those players. This tournament would have been important to show, one, I think the depth of the U.S. men's national team. Two, to get these guys maybe potentially their only important games for a U.S. men's national team in a tournament. Three, to give them a chance to showcase their skill on a world stage. And I think four, to just continue the culture that we're trying to build from the top down within a major tournament. Yes, the Olympics doesn't matter, sure, compared to the Gold Cup or compared to the World Cup or, Confederations Cup or whatever you want to talk about, but it still matters to these guys. It still matters to these U14 players coming up and viewing these dudes at the U23 level of, I want to be there one day. It matters from a whole structural top-down point of view, in my opinion. Yes, the results of the Olympics don't matter, but there's messages behind that I think matter.
Yeah, I think I do agree. So sure, you could say, this isn't even a senior competition. It's a U23 team. You could say, the Olympics, like you said, the result isn't a huge, hey, if we won a gold medal, would it be awesome? Of course. Would the country really get behind that? I think so. But if you get to the Olympics and you get bronze or fourth or fifth, it's about, like you said, it's about being there and showing, and it kind of goes back to what I said before in terms of more meaningful games. And you could say if it doesn't matter, maybe they aren't meaningful, but to these guys, like you said, it is meaningful. Yeah. And it builds this, basically, I'm just going to reiterate what you said because you said it pretty well, but the culture, just from top down, needs to be on the same level, right? Like you said, U14s, they need to see the U20s, the U23s, and the senior team all competing at the highest level as hard as they can, no matter the game. It could be a friendly for all I care. But I think every game really does matter because whether you're playing for a bigger competition or playing for nothing, there's never, you're not actually ever playing for nothing, right? Because you are bonding with your teammates. You are learning how these guys play. You are building a tactical style.
And you're building a trust within the system
and an identity. The whole thing would have an identity where these kids who come in at the way young levels are seeing that identity from the top down, and you have, that it's so easy. It's like a kid who starts at U14 moves up. Eventually he's playing at the senior team. Boom, there you are. This kid has been there from when he was, 10.
Exactly. And I want to kind of close off this conversation with this comment from Soccer Noob USA. Been very chatty over here in the comments. I like it. He said every level
like your third member.
Every level of the U.S. men's national team needs a winning culture, qualifying for stuff, be better than Mexico, climb world rankings. Exactly. I think kind of your point, Jason, our points, just we need to create a culture of winning. Because yes, maybe we're getting arrogant with the hype around these players that we have and the idea behind what could happen within these players. And we're not actually getting results. We haven't won shit. Let's go win Nations League. Let's go win a Gold Cup. Let's focus on winning stuff before we can even think about 2022, 2026, anything.
That's another thing. It's like, why are we arrogant? Like when you say we haven't won anything, it's like, what do we have to be arrogant about? It's like we've not been that good.
In a very shitty transition, because I think this lays over into the big Twitter beef of the week. And I know you have a maybe lack of opinion on this. So I'm going to go with my opinion and you let me know what it is. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you definitely know what we're kind of referring to. And what we joked about in the beginning of the episode, Josie Altidore just fucking taking shots at Taylor Twellman, at Bobby Warsaw, at everyone, I feel like. So I'm not going to go on here and I'm not going to retweet for tweet. Jason, I kind of just threw the tweets up in here for reference for you and me.
Yeah, gotcha.
But it was a tweet out of nowhere that it was, I guess it was some video of somewhere, I think up in Canada, talking about how Taylor Twellman, was saying that it's unacceptable. He was pissed off. He was angry that we failed again, from failing to make the World Cup to now failing to make the Olympics, what we just talked about. Josie Altidore quote tweets that, and this is the only tweet I'm going to read. And he said, Taylor Twellman's national team career was laughable. Beasley should be the analyst or Mia Hamm. Twellman needs to be on extra time radio with Bobby Warsaw. He's a white boy with connects. Stop giving him a platform. Just a lot to break down there. His second tweet that he put out, I think, was way more of what he was trying to say. It's definitely one of those moments where it's like, you tweeted something angry, you said something angry, you went for a 10-minute walk, you came back, and it was like, I'm cool. Now let me kind of explain what I was talking about. I think there's a lot here to kind of unfold. I think the old U.S. men's national team, the Bradleys, Dempseys, Josies, that group, right? I think maybe they're feeling a little salty about the hype, about the excitement, about the positivity that this new group is getting, the Christians, the Westons, the Sergiños, all of them, and that their legacy is going to be known as the group that failed to make the World Cup, and that was it, right? I think that is a big point of this. I think Josie, especially as a guy who is a U.S. men's national team legend, and I will always defend Josie for that. He has had an amazing career. He's won competitions overseas. He's won competitions here in the United States. He's won a Gold Cup for the U.S. men's national team, top 10 all-time in appearances, top 3 all-time in goals scored. Josie has been an unbelievable player in his career. Yes, he has his faults, but so does every other player, right? He has his injury things that came up. So did Taylor Twellman. But I'm not getting into that, Josie. I'm not getting into that. I think Josie wants to be recognized as a legend, and I think a lot of the shit that he got, that Bradley got, that a lot of these guys got after we failed to make the World Cup bothers him and bothers probably Bradley and just as much all of the alike. And I think that he's right. I think that a lot of the times when we fail to do something as a soccer country, all we do is shit on it. We reference back not making the World Cup. We reference these old guys who aren't doing anything, and we just kind of focus on the next new players, the exciting young fresh toys that kind of come in. And maybe that's unfair. Josie Altidore, I will give you the credit, and I'm not like patronizing him. I'm not patronizing it. I'm just saying he's an absolute role model. He's a role model for being a black man in a sport that doesn't always represent the African American community, for the Caribbean community as well. I know he has Haitian ties. But the absolute just side shot that Taylor Twellman and Bobby Warsaw got in this whole chain is absolutely just out of nowhere. For Josie Altidore to come at Taylor Twellman to say your national team career was laughable, the dude had to retire early because of concussion issues, and Taylor Twellman was on an absolute scoring spree between club and country when he was a player. Taylor Twellman is a fantastic soccer player. And he is probably the largest media person we have in U.S. soccer, right? Like thinking brand scheme. We don't really have many. I think someone was texting me today about it. U.S. soccer is a very small bubble. Taylor Twellman's probably the biggest name within that bubble. Next is Matt Doyle. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know who I would throw in next as top tier. These are the
Cooligans.
Yeah, like, right? Like the Cooligans, Total Soccer Show, Extra Time. It's Taylor Twellman. And I think that's why Alexi Lalas, thank you.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's almost like we forget that we're such this niche thing, and that, yeah, we see Alexi Lalas, Taylor Twellman, maybe Stu Holden, maybe what Tim Howard's now doing with the Premier League. Like, these guys represent us, and maybe Josie just didn't feel represented. Maybe Josie just didn't feel respected, and I don't know. It's mixed feelings. I just don't think TT and Warsaw deserve the side swipes that they got in this whole thing. I think Josie feeling a little salty, feeling a little sensitive. I get it, but it's like maybe someone should be like, "Go, Josie, take a walk before you tweet something else next time." I get it, but just take a quick walk, bro.
Yeah, I really like how you framed it in terms of like, I mean, we don't know, right, what he's really thinking, but the fact like they did fail to qualify for the World Cup, and we just talked about how the players are usually the first people to really admit fault and really feel that guilt. And I mean, like you said, we're a small community. They hear all our shit talking. And it was loud after that in Trinidad. Yeah. And so I do really like that MLS season where, you know, there were signs and they were being booed everywhere they went. Like, there's no way that didn't hurt them a little bit, because they gave so much of their careers to the U.S. and they tried their best.
In U.S.
They
soccer,
are. They legitimately are. And you're right about the fact that there will always be that little asterisk that a lot of people will say. It's like, hey, yeah, Josie, he didn't qualify. Like, he'll be in that conversation, and it sucks because, I mean, you just listed his stats and everything he's accomplished is incredible. And I mean, I was at that Gold Cup game. It was awesome, and it was a great feeling. But like, these guys really are legends. Yeah. And the Josies and the Bradleys, I feel like, are a little bit tier below, like Dempsey and Donovan, especially because like those guys were a little bit further out, right? I mean, even Tim Howard doesn't get as much. It's really a lot on Josie and Bradley. If I were to pinpoint,
they were
maybe
the two old heads.
Omar Gonzalez, maybe.
Yeah, but no one. Josie out the door. Michael Bradley are U.S. men's national team legends. Omar Gonzalez is not a USMNT.
No, but like people who really took the brunt of all that shit. And it's really Josie and Bradley who probably feel the most shit from it. Yeah. And I think, like you said, it does weigh on them. And it's kind of sad, honestly. But something like this whole argument just comes off as really petty and unnecessary. And like Twellman tweeted back, like saying he'd like to donate and support Josie. And then Josie kind of came back with another, what I thought was like the worst tweet of the bunch was just like this really like the very last tweet that Josie sent, which is very just toxic. Like you're not helping anything at that point. You're just making everything worse. And it blew up and is a huge thing on US soccer Twitter. But it's just, I don't know. It seems really petty to me, and it looks really bad. And
it seems like most people were against Josie. And I'm not saying I agree with what Josie was saying.
Well, I think most people are just against Josie for a matter of things, which also probably helped fuel this.
And I think that's it. You hit the point right on the head right there. Is most people hate Josie because of not making the World Cup. Because for some odd reason, it's not the team's fault. It's not the lack of games before Trinidad. It's not the head coaching mess. It's not any of that. It's Josie out the door, Michael Bradley. They missed the World Cup.
It's also, we're judging them on one game. Everyone who's really pissed is forgetting years of what these guys did.
Exactly. And everyone then immediately jumps to the the low-hanging fruit of Josie's always hurt before major tournaments. Josie never scored in a World Cup. Josie blah 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 blah. Josie this, Josie that. Josie's a mental case. Josie is this. He's a human being. Like, at the end of the day, he is a legend of this game. He's a legend of US soccer. He is a fantastic player, and I still stick by my point. He's still our best striker in the pool. I'm always going to say that until, again, someone can beat me to ever saying that no
Pure
one's
striker.
Exactly. No one's far and above Josie out the door. But I think the fact that he already has so much hate didn't help him in not getting even more hate on this. Because yes, Josie, do you deserve some hate for this? Not because of what you were trying to say, or not because of what you don't deserve, because you do deserve praise and you do deserve credit, but because it just came out of absolute nowhere and you made it about something that it wasn't. That's my end take.
Yeah, I just think I think he could have tweeted anything and he'd get hate on his tweets. Like, he could tweet like what a great day, and everyone would be like, fuck you. Like,
I'm having a beautiful morning.
I think when shit like this happens, everyone's like, oh, this is such a bad argument, blah, 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 gets involved. But like, everyone is partially to blame for this shit happening, because there's no way Josie doesn't feel shit for what happened. Like, and like, we're just saying, like, we've said it repeatedly, like, I think it really is almost all on those two guys.
Yeah, and
so it takes its toll.
And I'm sure they've beaten themselves up, like we said about the Olympics, more than anyone could tweet at them or say to them. And Taylor Twellman gets paid to make these takes because, again, for whatever reason it may be, he is the largest media voice in U.S. soccer and all of that, right? It's a lot, whatever. We're getting just as petty.
Too, it's like he's getting paid to spew shit to get clicks. Like,
yeah, I mean, yes, at the end of the day,
I mean, good for him. Like, he deserves it. But also at the same time, it's like, if you're gonna do shit like that, like Stephen A. Smith, like, he gets shit all the time.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't think. I'm sure.
I don't think they're on the same level, but it's a similar kind of thing.
I'm sure there's private conversations happening and people are trying to reach out to people behind the scenes. It's just, we're just getting just as petty as NBA Twitter, and I love it, but I hate it at the same exact time. Was that a very entertaining afternoon? Yeah.
You can't dislike NBA Twitter. That shit is a roller coaster every day.
And that's why if we just get a little bit more petty in MLS Twitter, no, just kidding. I mean, I want the pettiness. I just don't want the absolute just people dumping on other people, because that's just not fun to always see. Certain people, it's fun to see. Yep. Those guys, Josie, Taylor, Bobby, not fun to see. But let's move on. That was a lot of Josie TT talk. An update. An update to the 2021 US Open Cup that came out this past week. Not going to dive too much into this, I don't think, but pretty much the Open Cup and US Soccer announced that they will be skipping the opening round to the Open Cup that they had initially planned, and they will be going straight to a round of 16. So what that means is, instead of 32 teams making the tournament, 16 teams making the tournament, pretty much. Just for 2021, things will go back to normal, hopefully in a non-COVID scenario. MLS teams, 8 of them will make the tournament, so half this tournament will be made up of MLS teams. They will be decided based off performances within the first 3 weeks of the MLS season, which I think is pretty dumb. And Jason, I know you said that you think 8 teams coming out of MLS is pretty dumb.
Yeah. I mean, so there's also this random 2 teams that could also be an MLS team, right?
Yeah, so no, so it's not. So I'll get to that. So that's the MLS side of things. USL Championship, our Division 2, they are getting 4 teams to represent in this competition. Phoenix, Tampa Bay, Louisville, and El Paso are all making it. So pretty much the conference semifinalists from last year are making the tournament. Then 2 teams will be taken out of our 3rd division, which is a split of USL League One and NISA. So last season's USL League One champion Greenville Triumph for making the tournament. And I think the fall season champion for NISA, I'm not exactly sure how NISA works, but just from what I'm reading, Detroit City FC, they will be the two teams that come out of our third division. And then we have the quote-unquote open league, which is pretty much non-professional division soccer within U.S. soccer. So we have a bunch of different divisions, right? The NPSL, USL League 2, and then a few other major competitions that are non-league pretty much in U.S. soccer. There will be 4 major leagues, so NPSL and USL League 2 are 2 of those leagues, and there's 2 other leagues I'm not exactly sure about. Those 4 league winners are all going to go into a random draw, and 2 of them are going to get pulled for the competition. Pretty fucking stupid, but whatever. At the end of the day, this is how the U.S. Open Cup is being selected for 2021. Any comments, Jason?
I'm just trying to think about how the committee who picks and makes this shit up figured, let's just select MLS teams off of the first 3 weeks of the season. Like, was that their first thought?
It's such
a hilarious thought.
What is that? We said this before. I've said this before, and I don't remember if I said it on the podcast or to you guys privately in the chat or on Twitter or whatever the fuck. Why we have so many competitions going on this year. You have the MLS regular season, then you have Campeones, then you have Leagues Cup, you have US Open Cup, you have CCL. I think CCL teams play in CCL. Obviously, the crew are playing in the Campeones Cup. Fine.
And they're not going to care about this.
Then you have Leagues Cup, whatever teams you're gonna throw in there, that's fine. Anyone else who's not playing in CCL or Leagues Cup or the Campeones Cup, the top 8 teams that are left from last season should be playing in US Open Cup. That's it.
Agreed. Should be very simple.
Let's try.
I don't know how they didn't think about that.
Like, let's just try not to have teams travel more than they need to or wear down players' legs more than they need to. Let's just give teams specific competitions. You play that. Obviously, CCL is the most prestigious. You give them that. You want to push Leagues Cup as the next best thing because it's MLS teams and Mexican teams. Okay, Nat next. US Open Cup next. Like, just do it. Like, it's stupid, but whatever.
It's also
because
kind of just arbitrary. Like, I assume they picked 3 weeks because, like, the 4th week they're starting the tournament or something.
Yes.
But
yes.
so it's just like, just do who's good right now. Oh, okay, that they're in. Like, what? This just makes no sense. Anyone could be good after 3 weeks. It could be the shittiest team in MLS. Wooden Spoon could be in this shit.
It's just U.S. soccer is having a real great week, on many fronts. Let's finish things up here, Jason, because I forgot to mention in the beginning of the show, after you and I talk is going to be my interview with Eli Lesser from This Week in MLS. If you guys don't know what This Week in MLS is, it started off as an Instagram page. He moved to Twitter. He moved to YouTube. He's doing a lot of great things. Eli is an excited, energetic person within the MLS community. If you're not following him, go on Twitter, go on YouTube, go on Instagram. Just search This Week in MLS, and you will see his videos. You will see his takes. Great dude, and I'm going to try to do more with him moving forward because honestly, just a fantastic conversation that we had. So definitely stay tuned for that after this. Jason, let's finish things up. Not many MLS moves to talk about. If we want from the jump, I know we both want to just mention it really quickly. Inter Miami have a trialist so far leading into the season. Enzo Zidane, son of Zinedine Zidane, an attacking midfielder who has a ton of experience within the Spanish second division, a little bit in the Swiss and Portuguese first division as well, coming up throughout the Madrid pipeline. That's just pretty fucking cool. So tacking on another big name too. I know Minnesota United signed Patrick Weah as a homegrown prospect, so cousin to Timothy Weah. So we're just getting a lot of big names joining MLS at a certain level.
Gotta love it.
So outside of that, really only 4 major moves. I'll just let you kind of pick one. I'll pick one, end the show. We'll go to me and Eli, and that'll be it. So go for the move you want to talk about.
Yeah, I want to talk about Philly getting Leon Flack or Flack.
I think it's Flatch.
Flatch? Well, yeah, they got him from
St. Pauli.
Yeah. What is that? What, Germany?
It's the two. They're
lower
playing
division, right?
two Bundesliga, the second division.
Yeah. But I after reading into the move a little bit, they went after him. It looks like a year ago, and St. Pauli was like, "Nah, you can't have him." And then they went back this year, and they were able to work something out and obviously get him. And he is American. I think he was born in Texas.
Yep.
So he's a dual German American. So, I mean, obviously, Philly did their research. Philly's a team that at this point I kind of trust when they sign someone that, they did do their research and they have made good decisions. And he seems like he could be a solid piece for them, especially after losing Brendan Aronson. I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to be Brendan Aronson, but he's a 20-year-old. He's 20 years old, just turned 20, and he's not like. I mean, I don't have his stats pulled up, but I just think he's going to be a good piece, and it's a guy who I am excited to see how he can play in MLS, because coming from the two Bundesliga, I think it's probably a step up to MLS. I don't watch a lot of Bundesliga too, but
I mean, St. Pauli, right? Like, I know St. Pauli's connections with you at soccer is great. Leon Flatch, I don't remember if you remember this, but like I remember it was months ago in the middle of COVID when Bundesliga was still playing a little bit. This American kid hit this absolute banger for St. Pauli, and that's this kid. I don't know if anyone listening remembers that. It was an absolute. That's this kid. So his only goal scored for St. Pauli's first team was like that goal.
40-yarder.
Yeah, just an absolute bomb, right? So this kid is like he's not going to be scoring a ton of goals, right? He very versatile, young kid, like you said, Jason, 20 years old. Primarily, what I know about him is he is a defensive midfielder by trade. He has played a ton of left back as well, can push up a little bit into the central mid, can even touch right back. So
versatile is a good word for him.
For a team that could use left back depth. Obviously, they have Kai Wagner and Matt Real. I get it, but not bad to have a little bit more extra left back depth there. You could have some defensive midfield depth behind Jose Martinez, right? He was fantastic last season. Let's bring in this kid to give him a little bit of depth. If Jamiro Montero is playing attacking mid, then you could have that diamond of Bedoya and Flatch as well. There's a lot of ways that Curtin could throw Flatch into the lineup, and I think that's why this move is fantastic. And I mean, the fact that he doesn't also take up an international spot also helps as well.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So Leon Flatch, I think that was probably the most interesting signing from this past week. I guess I am left with talking about Isaac Atanga going to FC Cincinnati. I feel like I'm always left with talking about FC Cincinnati players, and I'm not happy about
another attacker.
Hey, my biggest concern when Cincinnati brought in Brenner was that he wasn't going to have talent around him to produce at the level that I think everyone is associating with his price tag. This is at least a move to say, we know we need people around him to feed Brenner the ball. Let's do that. Let's go get a guy who's been playing in Denmark's first division. He has almost 60 games in Denmark's first division. Not that Denmark's first division's like, whoa, but it's still a relatively good league, right? A guy who's only 20 years old, a guy who has 12 goals and 5 assists in 58 games, where he's coming from at Norwich.
Last year, he has, I think, 10 starts, 5 goals. So
yeah, exactly.
19 appearances total, but like it seems like he's actually grown, like gotten better.
He's a guy who is only getting better. He's a guy who's only just going to add to this winger depth on this team. And you know what? Cincinnati, I give it to them. I give it to them for the lack of production on the field. They at least they try. They try and try and try. You have Lucho, you have Brenner. Locadia should have more pieces around him.
Honestly, I hope it's successful. I really do.
I don't want this team to be wooden spoon. I really don't. No. So bringing in Atanga, I don't know how much production you're going to get, but if this kid can
this was a move that, this was a move. The more I saw, the more I actually liked it.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Like, and the more I read about it, the more I was like, oh, okay, this actually seems like a quality move.
Apparently, there's a center back coming in the near future as well before the season starts for Cincinnati. So I don't know. We'll see. Cincinnati, I think we all have our fingers crossed for you because we want you to be good with that beautiful, beautiful new stadium. Just kind of quickly, Cincinnati, Dallas, they are selling Thiago Santos. I think I saw a reported fee of around $1 million for Santos to go back to Brazil, and more specifically Grêmio in Brazil. And then DC United, they are getting Paul Arriola back on their loan from Swansea, the loan being cut short due to injury. So I think Major League Soccer Club
no more loans to Swansea.
Never send a player to Swansea ever again. I think that's that's the lesson we've learned from this. Jason, before we get to me and Eli breaking down some off-season moves, talking about some exciting things leading into the 2021 season, I guess we'll announce that we're doing season previews next week. We're doing Western Conference next week. We're, I think, all very excited that we actually get to preview and talk about some soccer. The 2021 season is so close. If you're watching this live as of the video recording, CCL is 5 days away. If you're watching this the next day when the podcast drops, it's 4 days away. So even better. But we're getting so close to soccer. Season previews are coming up next. Anything you want to finish off this episode with?
Yeah, excited for season previews. Also, thank you, MLS, for updating your website. It's way better now. It's just way better. Thank you.
I hate change, but thank you. Yes. Thank you.
No, it's way better. It's objectively just a better website.
So
there was like 2 stories on the front page of the old one.
I mean, yes, I can maneuver the website better. Jason,
I didn't think you don't have to like get out a little like Sherlock Holmes.
I didn't think we would talk for an hour, but we did. So that's fine. I'm okay with it. So
this is how it always goes. Every time we finish up, it's like, oh, was it really an hour? Like what?
I thought we were gonna go for like 15 minutes. Shit.
Yeah, it's like what? You said 20 minutes, and here we are 2 hours later.
Whatever. Let's end it. Let's end the pain for the listeners. If you're listening to the podcast, stay tuned. Interview with Eli Lesser from This Week is MLS is up next. If you're watching this on Twitch, the video's already up. If you're watching this on YouTube, video's already up. Go check it out. Peace out.